Zhongli is a 5-star Geo-Polearm user. At first glance, Zhongli does not seem to be a frontline DPS, and is more of a support DPS. His role is to apply a very powerful shield to your frontline, while dealing some geo damage with his abilities, which in turn will create elemental shields to your allies. Zhongli has a standard normal attack, and his charge attack will launch him forward, giving him some invincibility frames and dealing damage in a line. Unlike some other characters, he has no elemental damage on his normal attacks. Frankly, this makes him unsuited for a frontline role, unless you decide to build him as such, but more on that later. His supportive role is reinforced by his E, Dominus Lapidus, which when tapped, places a persisting Geo pillar in front of him that periodically pulses, dealing AoE Geo damage. This ability is unique in that it causes other Geo constructs, such as Ningguang's Jade Wall, to pulse periodically, identically to his Geo pillar. You can climb on it too. When his E is held, Zhongli casts a unique, persisting shield on himself while dealing AoE geo damage. The shield's strength increases based on his maximum HP, and increases shield strength by 5% when it is damaged, stacking up to 5 times. This ability will instantly destroy all ores in the area, quite fitting for the Archon of Geo. This ability also drains Geo shields from enemies, dealing extra damage to them, but not actually dealing damage to the enemies themselves. Zhongli's ultimate ability, Planet B4, simply sends a huge meteor crashing in front of him, dealing massive AoE geo damage and petrifying all enemies caught in the blast. When you unlock his Dominance of Earth talent, it will deal more damage based on his maximum HP, specifically 33%. I assume that means he will deal 33% of his max HP as bonus damage before calculation. As stated earlier, Zhongli's playstyle is to establish Geo pillars, shield himself, and swap to your frontline DPS to keep them well protected, while supporting them with Geo damage and shields created through Crystallize with the occasional ultimate for crowd control and damage. Zhongli's Petrify is very powerful. It will affect most enemies with the exception of bosses such as Regisvines. Zhongli's most basic artifact set is probably Archaic Petra, with HP percent on Hourglass, Geo damage on Goblet, and crit damage on Circlet, but crit rate works as well. His Shield and Elemental Burst damage scales with HP percent, making it a good choice as a main stack. Attack percent or even Energy Recharge could work on Hourglass as well. The 4-set zone bonus from Petra synergizes nicely with his overall kit and supportive nature, but you can also mix and match with a 2-set Noblesse Oblige and 2-set Geo damage. An alternative build is a physical damage build with retracing Bolide, but I do not recommend this because there are better options for a frontline physical DPS, but if you insist, feel free to prove me wrong. In the topic of weapons, there are no real great polearms for Zhongli at the moment, unless you're willing to sacrifice your wallet and credit card to pull for Vortex Vanquisher, Primordial Jade Spear, Deathmatch, or Black Cliff Pole. So you can use whatever polearm fits your mood, such as Favonius Lance for more elemental burst, or Crescent Pike for more physical damage. Let's go over Zhongli's constellations. His first constellation increases the amount of pillars he can have on the field at once to 2, increasing the area he can cover. The second constellation makes his elemental burst grant a Jade Shield on cast, identical to the one granted by his elemental skill, keeping your team protected more often. His fourth constellation increases his elemental burst potency, increasing the range and petrification duration. His final constellation essentially turns him from a support DPS to a support healing DPS, a very powerful albeit expensive ability. So what kind of comp should you use Zhongli in, and what role should he fulfill? Zhongli performs best with a frontline DPS that can consistently deal elemental damage to synergize well with the Archaic Petra 4-set effect. Examples are Razor, Diluc, or even Tartaglia with retracing Bolide set. The optional, you can also add in Ningguang or the Geo MC for more surface area on his elemental skill. Unless you have a 6th constellation, a healer could also be added in. In conclusion, Zhongli is a powerful supportive DPS. but is not really suited to fighting at the front lines due to lack of elemental enhancements on his normal attacks. Nonetheless, his abilities are very powerful against all enemies, and he will definitely keep your DPS well protected while increasing the fighting potential. Though he may seem like a boring character, with his only defining feature being his elemental burst, the ability to brainlessly attack your enemies with your DPS and not be punished is not to be underestimated. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and consider subscribing, and I'll see you all in the next review. Bye.